Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Needs Some Introduction. In today's episode, we're breaking down the series, I should say season finale. I do think they want this back for another season, ? Of the Apple TV series Cape Fear, an episode called The Executioners, which is the name of the book that these adaptations are based on, for anybody who wants to track it down, the 1950-something book. And joining me for the conversation, as has been the case for all 10 of these interminable episodes, is Sona. Sona.
We made it.
We did it indeed. Just a couple of show notes, of course. Sona and I have already begun our coverage of our next series. And we only got around, Sona and I together, only got to cover the first episode of the series Furious on FX. We've already gotten, I'm very happy to see this, by the way, on Spotify. I have already gotten multiple comments saying, thanks for covering this series. People are already enthusiastic about it.
Love that.
We don't usually get feedback immediately, so this is very positive, I think. And I'm glad to hear it because I haven't seen any kind of ratings or anything, but this is a good show, I think. So I think we're going to cover it regardless if whether the audience comes or not. But
I finished all 3 episodes that were available and I am obsessed. I love it.
That's so exciting to hear, Sona, because I was worried that I'd have to keep reminding you there's 2 more episodes. I've got to record next week.
No, I feel like it just got better and better. I love it.
I think the audience reaction, by the way, based on the places I look, like IMDb, episode ratings, etc., do seem to indicate that people did like each episode better than the last. For me, episode 3 was, which is totally fine, was more of character building, a little less plot, a little less mystery, but still advancing the mystery. So I thought it was very well structured. It wasn't, I preferred the kind of acceleration, the thriller elements of the first 2 episodes and the tone of it. But I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a different type of episode. It's really one more about filling in these backstories. So I thought it was a different type of episode, not my favorite, but I can understand why. If you want more character and you want time understanding these characters, makes perfect sense. But I don't want to make it sound like it was a bad episode. I actually thought it was an excellent episode. And we do need to know these people's backstories. And I said that in my solo commentary that I did about half an hour after we wrapped up Sona, just kind of covering the last 2 episodes. And I mentioned in episode 3, I always really like in a movie or TV series, oftentimes with a cat and mouse, you're seeing the criminal be just like one step ahead or one step behind. And we see the dragnet closing and we might see momentarily the killer out in the wild. But I think all the way back to Kurosawa's High and Low movie, which is one of my favorite films of all times, that there's this amazing moment in the middle of that film when all of a sudden you're with the criminal and you see how they live their lives. Like we're like embedded in their life, in their point of view. And it was so shocking, that movie from the 1950s, but such an incredible, still feels so contemporary, just to shout that out. And I loved in episode 3, seeing that all of a sudden we're seeing this like rich backstory and understanding of how this person is surviving, the criminal person here is surviving. And in a really interesting way, introducing really fascinating characters. This, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but how she basically makes a living and how she basically has a place to live and that symbiotic relationship with this person she's caring for. It was really just really fascinating. I think, I think I'm talking myself into that being my favorite episode after all.
It's so good. And I mentioned to you by text, I love the introduction of the Asian FBI investigator guy because he is such the archetype of that type of guy that you got to work with. I love that. I loved, and maybe, we each have this problem. I think it's just the way the human mind works. When you watch a couple episodes at once, you're not sure which episode things happened in. So maybe I'm mixing them up. But the scene between Alice and Marshall's mom was amazing. Fantastic. To me. Yeah, love that. Just a cute little thing. We're not supposed to be talking about this show right now, but I guess I just have so much to say that that head Easton guy, I think his name is Jay Easton. You notice the initials are the same as Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think it's a coincidence. That's all I have to say for the time being. Just that I loved it.
Yeah, I'm enthusiastic about talking about it as well, especially considering we have to talk about the finale of Cape Fear, which I have many things to say, actually, but they might not be as positive as the ones about Furious. Anyway, so that's Furious. And also on Apple TV, we are also covering the series Lucky. And I do watch the streaming ratings just out of curiosity right before this conversation, because Cape Fear has been in the top 10 every single week and fell out of the top 10 this current week. But also it might be that the show is fading, but I actually don't think that's what happened. It might have just been, like I said, they only published the top 10, so it might have just been right on the cusp considering the viewership. Right. But I mentioned that because something that did jump into the top 10 was Lucky, which is the other series we're covering here. And it saw a huge audience increase week over week. It had more than doubled in audience size. So that is a very fun and very short watch. So Darren and I are discussing that. And there were only 3 more episodes, so only a 7-episode season. And they dropped 2 on week 1. So 5 weeks. You burned through the whole thing in 5 weeks. So pretty quick. So anybody wants to watch that, it is... for me, this 4th episode, we're right in the middle of the season, was the first episode I really didn't like, I have to say. But I do think the show's back on track. Darren had no problems with it. I had my own issues with it. But like I said, 7 episodes, a very fun. This is kind of like Hijack, just a thriller that keeps you going from week to week. So, and short, like the Hijack series was. Season 1, I didn't even see season 2 of Hijack. So we tried to watch it, but we gave up. All right, so this episode of Cape Fear, this season finale. Oh, I just saw that. I pulled up the Apple TV app, and indeed, it does not say series finale. It says season finale.
What a threat.
That's my first question to you. Even if you remain a fan of this show, and I'm very curious to know what you thought of it in general, do you foresee, like, what, even if I was more enthusiastic about the show, I cannot imagine a season 2 that I would care about watching on this show.
I agree with you.
It's like, what would there be to explore at this point? I can't even imagine what I want to know more about.
Well, they certainly left enough loose ends that they could come back and do more, but I don't think there's a need for that. I don't think anything that was left open was intriguing enough to make me think, oh, I need to know what the ending of that was. Instead, I feel more just like it's frustrating that they did not tie up these loose ends.
Well, yes, because I presume they would want to potentially leave things open for a season 2. And I guess... No,
I understand. But I'm saying, like, it wasn't enough to make me say I would tune in again to see the end of this. It's only enough to make me frustrated that I didn't find out that season.
Yeah. Frustration is definitely... I thought... Let me ask you your general opinions before I tell you what I thought. How did you feel about this as a season finale? And just... You have been enjoying the show recently. Was it still entertaining in the same ways as it was before? What'd you think?
Okay. So in broad terms, the first 10 minutes of the finale, I would say, were so like 180 miles per hour off the rails that I was kind of like, wow, they are really going for it here. And then I was very thrown off by the fact that the series called Cape Fear left Cape Fear and went back to Savannah. And, I was thinking of you because you had been saying, oh, I've been waiting for this time that Anna and Max are just alone confronting each other. Well, that never really happened, right? So I was surprised that they made that choice to come back to Savannah and reintegrate everyone. But even then, I was kind of like, all right, let's see where this ride takes us. But I don't know. Maybe I don't understand what camp is. Um, but for me, I don't need every single thing tied up in a neat little bow. But there was so many inexplicable decisions
Yes.
made in this episode
Yep.
that it was hard to hand wave away all of them. One or two, okay. But it was just thing upon thing that made no logical sense. And maybe you can tell me you are much more knowledgeable about film genres. Is that something that camp does and it just doesn't make any logical sense anymore?
I don't think so. I'm not a huge fan of camp either, and I'm not sure if the show would qualify as camp. Usually,
Yeah, I didn't think so. People have been referring to it as camp, but I don't think that's what it is. I do think it is some kind of tongue-in-cheek dark comedy at times.
Yes.
But I don't, I just don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that the definition of camp is, and I'm not a huge fan of camp in general. I actually should say that I am a fan of true camp. I think the pure definition of camp is when you've made something earnestly and it is comedic. But you can't. This is my intention. This is why I don't like something that is campy, like the American Horror Story, for example, has become extremely campy.
Sure.
That the reason I don't like that is, in my opinion, you can't make intentional camp. You can't. If you are trying to be campy, then for me, you are failing because for me, like, there are these famous examples of films that are like, the whole idea of like, it's so bad, it's good, where those types of things can be extremely funny, but it's because the intention was sincere, but it accidentally was a comedy. Like a horror movie that accidentally is a comedy is very, very funny because,
sorry.
Sure.
What about Rocky Horror though? Isn't that campy and wasn't it intended to be camp?
See, that's an interesting one because I think that is considered camp. And I do wonder, for me, it's an open question as to whether it's been embraced as camp and the filmmakers are like, we always intended it to be that way, and whether that's sincere or not. So I'm not 100% sure on that. But I would also say, even for me, I remember the first time I saw Rocky Horror, I actually was really kind of blown away by it, like because of like how crazy it was, but also
during that time period too. That was such an unusual thing during that time period.
But that's what I was going to say. I think it was also my age at the time of seeing it, where I was like kind of shocked by it, at the comedy of it and everything else about it. But then I felt like it was sincere. And I think now when I watch it, I've watched it recently because it was just available to stream or something. I didn't watch the whole thing. I think it's a recent anniversary, maybe 50th anniversary. And I was watching it. And maybe because now I see the intentional campiness, it doesn't work for me anymore. But I think that's what's interesting about what you're saying, is that maybe if you have, a certain sensitivity to, or can read something as earnest and campy at the same time, like I maybe was able to do at some point in my life, this would work more. This tone would work more, but it's just hasn't really worked. And in this particular episode, by the way, I actually think this episode was one of the best directed episodes of the season. The performances were very good. The mock trial that happens later on is interesting. Even some of the really funny, like campy, violent moments were kind of well executed. So I thought it was well made. One of the best made episodes of the season, I thought. But the decisions, like you said, decisions being made, not just from the characters, like the decisions being made in the script. Like you said, we have a show called Cape Fear. We wrap up everything that happens in Cape Fear in like 3 minutes, the beginning of this episode, and then we're not in Cape Fear. And then they're like, you got to get out of town, everybody, which of course sets you up perfectly for the storm on the boat in the movie. But we actually have it in their house. And then I could just run down a litany of these things. Like the cops don't watch them. This
was so bananas to me. You got to go, and you got to go now. Okay, we'll be out in 15 minutes. All right, sounds good. See you. You
See you later. Bye.
Hang out there for another 15 minutes and watch this family get in their car and drive away.
It's nuts. Everything that happens here makes no sense at all. And like at the script level, I'm just like, what are they doing? And even like for setting things up, like you don't take advantage of Cape Fear, you put them back in the house. It's really bizarre. Like it's really bizarre. And then you have to have the family, which of course has made terrible decisions throughout, be as illogical as possible to allow the ending to even play out the way it does. And then everybody's decision making here is just insane. And like you said before, the loose ends they leave for next season, even from again like what we're seeding for what might be next season, are not interesting.
It's not good enough.
In
it's
any way?
enough to bother me. Like I said, it's enough to bother me that I didn't find out the answer, but it's not enough to make me come back and watch more.
All right, let's walk through it a little bit because it's so crazy. And I do have some complimentary things to say about the beginning of the film, this episode, I should say. But Bardem shows up playing Max Cady. Bardem's performance at the beginning is, speaking of how this doesn't work as camp, his performance is really brutal and really cold at the beginning of
oh my God, yeah,
this episode. So again, very anti-camp if you read it that way.
Yeah.
And most of what happens initially, he's really good in this first part of the show. And then he just kills everybody in the boat and burns it down, which of course, like very TV logic, he puts a little whatever alcohol or gasoline on the floor. And within 15 seconds, the thing is completely ablaze. But this is just TV logic as it is. He doesn't believe, I guess that's why. I was very curious last week, like, why are they having her sneak off the boat? Like, he's not going to know that she was there if she jumps off the boat. But of course, it's all to set up. Again, this is just on the script. It doesn't make sense from a character perspective. Katie immediately believes that he's been lied to. They never had her. And he was just being lured out there and they're wasting his time. And he finally decides to get revenge on this whole clan and kill them all, except for the mother who survives, but is demented. So God knows what happened to her. Everybody else dies on the boat, or we presume they die on the boat. The dad definitely dies because he was caged when the place was burned. But I guess theoretically, that's something that, no body, if you don't see a body, no crime. So it's like, it's possible. They would be, if they somehow bring this back for another season, it would be really dumb of them to not bring back Juliette Lewis.
Right.
Who's like one of the few good things in the show. But he disposes of them all and supposedly definitely kills his dad off and kills his son, which of course, that was one thing that I speculated on last week.
Yeah, by the way,
in a very confusing way, I did actually, I was correct about that.
No, I mean, once again, bringing us all the way back to one of our very first podcasts, Mare of Easttown. You have spoiled the ending for me, Pitcher. With your brilliant analysis. So yes, I was very impressed that you called it. And it did take me a while to grasp it last week when you explained it to me. And helpfully, they explained it again here.
Yes.
So that I really understood it for sure. But yes, you did call it.
They did put it into a trial format, which is the way you process information usually. So but yeah, so then of course, I love, we're jumping ahead now, but I love during that sequence, quotation marks on love, that we see all the flashbacks to like what's happening in Max's mind right now. Oh, the photograph of the scar and the kid. Oh, I did see the kid's scar, right? Like when he shot himself, his shirt went up and I saw the scar. Or when I shot him, I should say, he didn't shoot himself. But it's very funny. Like we're like, and he's like, no.
Grabbing his head again.
Yep. He did take a pretty hard bonk on the head.
He took a nail to the head at that point, I think.
Yes.
I can't remember the sequence of events, but...
Yeah, the nail came later, but I think he hit his head on the ground was all the way back when he was choking Anna out. So this wraps up the main plots, and all the reversals we speculated on last week all happened. Tom's already out of jail, just as he made bail, conveniently made bail exactly then, as did his daughter. But by the way, again, I'm kind of jumping around, but it's just so much to process in this episode.
It's so much.
There's that moment where Natalie has gone back home. Noah's not keeping an eye on her. She's like, go ahead, take care. See if your brother's still around. And the brother does like a jump scare out of the bushes because he didn't have a key to the house. Yeah. He, of course, no communication in his family, showed up at the house being like, where is everybody? I thought everybody was here. It's like, no, everybody's in prison. He just weren't informed.
Yeah. Nobody told you. Yeah.
So that was the funny part. But then later on, I honestly was like smacking myself in the head, but they did correct that, where you saw that Tom and Anna reunited, and I'm like,
Yes.
no one checking out the kids.
Yes.
And he says, like, I did text Natalie. All right.
Yes.
At least you sent the kid a text message. Thank God.
I had the exact same thought of what on earth is going on? Your kids are just wandering around when you know the strange man is on the loose. And yeah.
This is insane. I would call Anna, even if I wanted to apologize. I'm like, we have to talk as soon as we can, but I am going to the house to see the kids as soon as possible. I am not going to be like, I texted her, everything's good. You have been texting with fake identities earlier in this very season of show. Like, what are you talking about? It's so insane to me. The decision making by these stupid people.
Yes.
It's pretty remarkable.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
By the way, this now back again to jump to that opening sequence, because there's so many things I skipped past. The sequence is actually pretty well done. But some of this is just the logistics of this is the dad standing there and letting him put throw his daughter and the grandson into the hold, and she getting shot. And the dad's like, you, I'll show you. Mm-hmm. But it's a little late, Grandpa. And of course, he does end up in that cage. So he does get his just desserts. However, it's just like when he was a little late to take action there at that point. That whole sequence is just insane. And like you said, going 100 miles an hour, maybe to somehow gloss over some of the silliness here.
I don't know. I
got a big question about Max, by the way. So Max is like, I just got to do one more thing to his ghost family, and then I'll kill myself, or I'll let myself get killed or something. We'll be reunited. Just one more thing to do, right? And he's like, by the way, that one more thing he has to do is open his restaurant. I didn't realize that was still on the agenda for him on his suicide run. That was hilarious. He's just like, I got a restaurant to open. Sorry.
Yeah, because what was going to happen after that? If he's on a suicide mission, he's going to open this restaurant and then just disappear? What's the point of that?
He has opened the restaurant and does not want to have his name besmirched as part of opening this restaurant, even though his plan is to murder this entire family and then kill himself. I'm like, I don't know what this original plan was. Maybe he was going to, no, he wouldn't do that. I was going to say maybe he was going to die and like frame them for it, but that's not what he was planning to do. He had them locked up and was going to have the daughter murdered in prison, was going to try to get Tom to kill himself like he has done in the past. And I don't know what his plan for Anna was, I guess, but he hadn't done a very good job of tracking her down. I guess this is the whole goal, was to have Crystal track her down. And then, but what would he have done? Killed her and drowned her? And then he would be off the hook. So was he still planning to kill himself, or was he just saying that? He's just, one more thing to open. Just open the restaurant. That's the one more thing I got to do. You know what? I just got one more thing to do. I got to make the restaurant profitable. And you know how these restaurants are. There would always be another thing. I think he's an egomaniac. He's not going to kill himself. I did love Anna, by the way, emerging like Freddy Krueger in front of this car in the middle of the woods. Emerging from Cape Fear.
Yeah. I thought she was going to say, you need to take me to the hospital. But no, she just wanted to go back to her car.
Take you to your car. And I'll buy you another shirt. I'll buy you another shirt.
Which, by the way, I don't know. I guess she couldn't have wandered that far from her car. But I felt like that family was already under some stress interpersonally, because apparently the mom slept with the soccer coach. But also, there's a hurricane or whatever type of storm it was. Like, I don't think they want to be like running these errands with this strange lady. I don't know. I guess maybe it was just a very close by detour.
You know what? I didn't have too many qualms with that whole situation, because if someone pops out in front of me, this woman in the woods, I'm probably going to be like, oh my God, she might be in danger. Get in my car. And then once she's in the car and she seems to be a crazy person, I might be like, okay, where's her
Police
car?
station, hospital.
I want you out of the
take
car
her.
as quickly as possible. So is it nearby? Let's just get you to the car and then get out of here.
Maybe.
Of course, then Kate and Max is at the opening ceremony for the restaurant, looking very well put together considering the night he just had. And then Anna shows up still wet. Is she still wet from the river? Like, how quickly did she get to this place?
I didn't think about that.
It's like she's still dripping, walking around, and she has her Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah, I mean, it's daytime too. So at least enough time has passed to dry off, you would think.
By the way, why is the Bluetooth speaker inside the bag, and why is she carrying it that way? She's looking to get shot.
In that like lunch sack. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say that she was looking to get shot. If she was, had a distance. If she was a different complexion, she would have been shot. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my goodness.
I do love the fact that when she's like playing the audio, he's like, "Oh, it's some fake AI audio," and then and then Noah has hijacked the presentation. I'm just laughing thinking about this. She hijacked his presentation to play the USB that I guess this is what was on the USB FaceTime recordings of him. It's not just his voice; it's his face, because he needed extra evidence of him trying to brainwash his ex-lover into killing herself.
I was shocked this was a FaceTime recording. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, when his face came up, I'm like, what was this? And then I realized it was a FaceTime recording. I'm like, she was FaceTime recording all this? This is a very bizarre thing for her to be doing. And then putting it onto a USB. She didn't just load it on her phone. She put it onto USB. She's pretty tech savvy, I got to say. It's not that hard to do, but that's pretty conscientious of her to be like, I want to make sure I keep these for posterity. Sona. But,
and also, like,
go ahead.
I don't know. I guess it was reasonable to me he could have his cell phone in prison and be sneaking it, but like he's full on going FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Like that seems
It had to be an iPhone.
Less subtle. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
I was going to say, but the funniest part of this whole thing is when she starts playing the audio and everybody in the audience is like, Max is a murderer. Everyone's like, boo. They start playing the audio and they're all like, oh. Their reaction, the crowd reaction was amazing. Like, is this how this would play out for real? I would think it'd be like stunned silence. If it was me, I'd be like, what the hell
is happening?
I'd be like, is this a promotional stunt? What is happening? This is the worst promotional stunt of all time. I wouldn't be like, ooh, did you hear what she said? Oh my God.
Okay. So, all right. Here's something that I guess is good that I can say about it, which I have brought up previously as well. I do think it's interesting when you have something that is a remake of a work that existed pre-cell phones, pre this technology era that we're in. I think it's interesting when people incorporate storylines that involve our very connected, very tech-savvy society into a plot line from half a century ago. So that's good.
Yes, I would actually agree with that. And I think it's a real missed opportunity. There's a lot of filmmakers in the past few years have specifically said they don't make contemporary films, period, at all, because they don't like cell phones. Like cell phones just kind of resolve too many problems.
It resolves so much.
And and even that, it's just that, the idea that, traditionally, if you had to have like a real heart to heart, you'd have that conversation like face to face if you're setting this in a different time period. Whereas now all those things are happening via text or via phone call. And it's not that no one would ever have a face to face conversation, but it would raise all these questions of people being like, why are they having this conversation face to face? Right. Which of course you just simply have to have a conversation face to face if it's 1990 something. So I really like when you have some new films that have come along that integrate tech in a really interesting way, that take that potential weakness and, make it a strength. So I really like that. And to your point, I really liked that, again, something that's kind of unresolved or at least underused a theme here, very big theme about surveillance and technology and how you can be infiltrated. They literally have someone in their house, but that infiltration could have been virtual, and that could be another paranoia, tech paranoia. So all of that's kind of a missed opportunity, but it was definitely at least in here, and they did try to experiment with it, which I thought was clever. And again, like the reversal of it, that's the one thing it really does pay off here, is that now he's being surveilled, right? We see Natalie made the recording. So, this love-hate relationship we've had with Natalie, whether she's actually savvy or idiot, this was actually one of the savviest things she did, where she not only got her hands on Nevia's phone, she wasn't just stealing it to get her text messages with her dad or whatever. It was because she could record the conversation that they had in that intimate moment. She didn't give up the biscuit for nothing. And I love Anna going up there with her neck out. She goes, Max, am I within arm reach now? Do you want to strangle me? And yes, he does. He indeed wants to strangle her. So anyway, his rehabilitation is over. He gets his head smashed on the floor, which maybe is the trigger for him to be so irrational later on, or maybe he would have been this way anyway. I mean, he did just start choking her out in public, so I guess that is probably showing you where he's at. And then what happens at that point? They're all back in the house.
Storms are coming.
Storm's coming. What do you think about Natalie's, I guess it's Zach's one remaining friend, who seems to have a crush on Natalie? And I like how he's like, and I actually thought this was a setup for a plot where it's like, you guys, you can come stay with my family.
Seems like a very random addition when it's not.
I like how he's just like, you want to come? You want to come out? She just hangs up on him. I guess he doesn't know. I mean, he must know. I mean, he hooked up with Navia right in front of him. So I guess maybe he thinks she might still be interested anyway.
I don't know. I don't know what that, I have forgotten that. I don't know what that scene was about in retrospect.
Yeah, I don't know which purpose it serves either. Do you have a point?
Right.
Again,
like in a finale episode. No.
Right. Again, when it happened, I'm like, oh, she's inviting her out there. Maybe that's where they run off to because of the storm.
Yes.
And then that's where Katie corners them, right? And then there's a storm and they're on the river and, whatever. Maybe the family has a boat and they're out on the boat. So that's what I'm seeing happening.
You're like, I will get these people back on a boat if it kills me.
I mean, come on. Who saw this adaptation?
The final scenes need to be on a boat.
God's sakes, we have had multiple adaptations. Everybody remembers the final confrontation on the boat. It's what the whole film leads up to. I don't understand how you don't have it here. It's pretty nuts. But it's not even like they're like, well, we couldn't afford to shoot on the water. You had a boat blow up.
You were on a boat.
At the beginning of this episode, don't tell me you didn't have time to get a boat location and shoot on the water. You did it.
Just stay put where you are. Play out the story there.
The boats, the interiors can look the same. What are you doing? It's so crazy. It's don't like, again, what is the decision making on this? I don't understand any of this really. And then we get to, kind of walking through the plot. Then we get to that whole sequence where Natalie's back at home. Noah leaves her alone. Nobody knows where Max is. I guess I take that back. Noah knows full well where Max is. He just got arrested in front of her. So, okay, I take that back. But the whole idea of like leaving her at the house where Zach is there. Zach may not be mentally stable. And anyway, the way these people watch these kids who are supposedly much younger, we kind of did the math last week or 2 weeks ago, much younger than they present on screen. I'm like, this girl's 16 and this kid's like 13, supposedly, even though they're both in their 20s. But even if that's the case, I'm not letting my 16-year-old alone.
You would be like, we are all staying in one room.
Yes.
Where we each can have sight of each other at all times. If someone needs to go to the bathroom, we're all going to go together and wait outside the door. Yeah.
The last time Tom saw his son, he put a pair of shears into his back. By the way, Tom has recovered from that really well. Not only do we not see any kind of bandage or anything, he's doing push-ups.
Yeah.
And by the way, he looks totally jacked. He's been doing push-ups the entire time he was at Princeton. Anna does more time in the hospital because of her hand. I guess she had to get it stitched up, but seems to have more time there than Tom did with the shears in his back. And amazingly, Tom gets picked up by his would-be, this girl he supposedly sexually harassed. So she does come back for the... I do like that all these characters come back. She came back. Then, the random Zach's friend who has a crush on Natalie pops up, like just random people. I laughed out loud, by the way, when I was thinking that in my head. I'm like, wow, all these random characters are coming back. And then the cops go, we found a really angry possum outside. I'm like, the possum came back. Even the possum came back for the finale.
A final farewell. Yeah, when I saw Lexi, I was like, oh, I forgot all about her.
Yes.
Okay, she's still around. Yeah.
Apparently, they had to bring her back, or maybe contractually obligated for another episode. I don't know. But yeah, she does show up just to pick them up at the prison. I guess if you're setting up another season, it's so that to remind us that then maybe there'll be more romance next season or a risk of it or something, right? So who knows? And did you like this? I mean, I thought the scene was okay. It was pretty good to have this moment where the family's like repairing itself. Tom and Anna, once again, now that most of the cards are on the table, just saying, look, whatever has happened before, we're both culpable and whatever, but we need to be on the same page because
at least for like the next 24 hours or so.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yes. And then the family reunites and the cops show up and do a terrible job. Everybody makes terrible decisions here. The cops are like, we got to be out of here in 15 minutes. Anna tells Natalie, go pack up everything. Natalie goes, and what does she do as the storm approaches? She lights a whole bunch of candles. I'm like, okay, not what I would do as I was about to leave the house.
So many candles.
To remember to blow them
You're
all
going to have to
down.
blow those out. Exactly.
What if you forget one? You're going to burn the house down. It's
My
so
God.
crazy. With a storm coming, and like with they already know that like half the people are sneaking in and out of the house through like this half-finished side of the house. You get like one gust of wind, burn the whole thing down. Someone was living there and having like voodoo rituals in their house. They didn't even know. So these people, I don't know what.
It's like they don't want to live.
Exactly. Too dumb to live. Yes, absolutely. And speaking of absolutely dumb, and also one of the funniest things that happens in this episode, the Zach being in his room, getting ready to leave. The cops have just walked out the door like 25 seconds before the scene. And he hears someone stomping around on the roof. Who could that be? And Zach has escaped. Max has escaped. We know he's escaped because the cops have mentioned it to us that, oh, by the way, he's definitely out there. So let's just give a quick.
So we're going to leave you here in the dark, rainy night to get yourselves out of here.
What else do they have to do? It's so crazy. Why would they just sit there and be like,
it's 15 minutes.
Pack up only what you need for the next couple of days. We'll come back and get everything else you need.
Yeah.
Pack a bag. We're going to drive you somewhere that Max couldn't possibly know where you live. And we're going to take you to one of our like houses or townhouses or something, or beach house, something, or I should say lake house, right? We're going to do something like that. They're like, take care of yourselves. Make sure you get out of here. Let me just take a quick look. They walk out the door. Like as soon as the cops, like literally, like he's on the roof. As soon as he sees the cops, like turn the corner at the top of the street, he starts stomping around the roof. And of course, when you have a mass murderer out there looking to target and kill your family, someone who has brainwashed you into thinking you're his dead son, what you do when you hear someone stomping up on the roof and there's a tornado or hurricane, I should say, closing in on you, is to open that window and pop your head out and take a look. What's up there?
Obviously.
Maybe it's the possum. It could be the possum. You never know. And then we have this hilarious scene of Bardem like jumping off the roof, like,
Okay, so explain to me, is this house U-shaped? Like, how can he get from the roof into the window?
I have no idea. If he dropped, I have to assume, and I don't know the geography of the house well enough, maybe the kid has like a patio out there on the second floor that he's jumping onto. But even then,
like a little terrace.
Even if he jumps onto the terrace, right? Like, and that's what he sees when he pops his head out the window. He's got to come through the window. Like Zach could close the window before he comes in, or just run the other way and be like, Max Trady's in the house.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's insane, like really insane. Just the logistics of that thing you just said. Like his head's popped out the window. What did Max do? How did Max get in the house?
Yeah.
Again, we just yada yada that because we don't want to think about it because it makes no sense at all. Oh, in the middle of all this somewhere, this is also, as if this is just so bizarre the way this whole thing is laid out. This is also when Anna gets the text message from Noah I don't know if it's still useful, but here's the birth certificate. Of course, that's the piece of evidence. Oh, she had a home delivery. Interesting. By the way, this should be a huge, shocking reveal that really sends Max reeling. And it does, right? But it just doesn't land. This should be like a really big deal, you know?
He kills his own son.
Yeah. And this is like, they give 2 minutes of time in this episode for the reveal and the consequences of it. It's like, this should be utterly devastating, right?
Yeah. By the way, I do think that was his son. I'm not disputing that. But just the exposition of, well, he couldn't have been Crystal's baby because Crystal couldn't get pregnant. As someone who's been through infertility, many, many, many women have been told they could never get pregnant and they go on to get pregnant. It does happen. So the fact that that was supposed to be part of the reason that you knew, I didn't really buy that, but hardly the biggest problem here.
Right. I mean, exactly. Like you could, again, in the real world, unless she had to have a hysterectomy or something. That,
sure. Then yes, that would be pretty conclusive.
Right. But unless it was something like that, you would maybe be like, oh my God, is it possible? Like if it's
right. Because
if it was scar tissue or something, things.
Yes. So many people have been told they could never get pregnant, and they do.
And then this sets up, despite the fact that I'm very upset that they did not go to Cape Fear, it does set up a pretty interesting conceptual idea that Max is now going to put them on trial. He also, by the way, says something absolutely hilarious here, unintentional. Maybe this is where the camp comes from. I think it's unintentional, or maybe the writers are more self-aware than I expect. But I love the fact that he's just like, the Bowdens all together, finally. And I'm like, yes, finally, these people who are being sought out by killers will not hang out in the same room together. It really requires like to be drugged and tied up for these folks to sit in a room together. It's very difficult for these people.
Also, through Max's own intervention, they were in various institutions, most of them. So, you know.
Yeah, when he's like saying, finally, it's kind of like, well, finally.
Like you murdered a guy and said Tom did it, and then Tom was in jail, and then you told Natalie to shoot you, and so she did. I mean, it's, you know.
Then he does like gives Zach a mega dose of whatever this stuff he's been giving him is, and he's really zonked out. So again, this has been going on, right? This kid has been zonked out on this stuff for months, and the family was just kind of like, he's going through a rough patch. Maybe give him a drug screening or something. In the meantime, what else happens here? He's trying to force them to tell the truth. I didn't watch this last night. You might have watched it more recently than I did. He tried to force him to tell him the truth. He tries to get the kid to bite his own tongue off. I guess it's like so in brainwashed.
Wait, what do you mean you didn't watch this last night? When did you watch it?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I did watch this last night.
Oh, yes. I also watched it last night.
Oh, you did watch it last
night.
night.
I also.
I thought you might have. I was saying you might have watched it more recently than that.
I see. Okay. I was like, wow, did you have special access to the finale? You watched
I watched
this
it last month, and I still made you watch it all. Sorry.
So go ahead.
I was just trying to piece together. So some of this is pretty interesting, like that, where he's, again, hints at what could have worked here in some ways. I like the mock trial. I like having the kids be the jury. I like having them admit to some of their wrongdoing and how they still hesitate to tell the truth, even like with their kids' necks on the line. But some of this is, they are telling the truth and he just doesn't want to hear it. But I did find that, even then when they're hesitating to admit their wrongdoing, that could be interesting in another show, in a better show, I think. But anyway, how did all this mock trial work for you?
So this to me, okay, I don't know if camp is the right word for it, but I didn't mind it's clearly over the top, right? But I didn't mind it. That part was okay. I could have done without the tongue biting. But
yes.
Other than that, I didn't mind it. It was kind of like in line and in keeping with what this show has established it is.
Max got plenty of jokes, though. My favorite is like, strike that from the record. Punch this into the face.
Yeah.
What is that? Permission to treat
the witness as hostile. Yeah.
Yes. So he just any excuse to punch Tom in the face, apparently. And when else did we see? Oh, I'm thinking of something else. See, I'm mixing all these things together in my head. I was saying that we see Natalie burning her zip ties off. And I was like,
yeah, well, that's all going on throughout the trial. She's in little pieces. And then I was thinking like, okay, I guess with all these candles burning already, it's not as obvious that someone's melting plastic.
or their wrists, they're like horrible burns on their wrists.
But because it feels like that's something you would notice, but maybe between the noise of the storm and all the candles, she was able to blend in better.
In my mind, the thing I was saying that I'm conflating two things. I was like, hasn't she done this before on this show? And then it's like, no, it's in Lucky. There was another escape that was exactly the same. And I'm like,
really?
I'm conflating the two things. I'm like, I know I've seen this very recently. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Wrong show. Too many
popular mode of escape lately.
Always have a lighter with you. Apparently, that's the thing that the kryptonite to those zip ties. And they do finally admit. What did they admit here? That it was the fact that he knew that he could have gotten acquitted potentially. Could have had a hung jury.
The jury was deadlocked when they made the deal. So if the jury's deadlocked, then you have a decent chance, first of all, that people would be convinced he's not guilty and would acquit him, or that there would be a mistrial, and then the state may or may not choose to bring the charges again. So point being that like it was not a good deal when there were decent odds of him either being found not guilty or not being retried. It was not a good deal to say, oh, we'll take the death penalty off the table. You do life in prison.
But I had another question to ask you about the, maybe it'll come back to me, but
and the idea being that obviously for Tom, that's a good deal. He was the prosecutor. But for Anna, it was being motivated by her fear that maybe Max was the father of her unborn child, was driving her to say, I just want him put away so that I never have to deal with him again, because otherwise this crazy person will forever have a connection to me and my child, potentially.
Right.
If she would just do a paternity test, a lot of this would have been easier, but okay.
I mean, it's really bizarre, right?
Especially with the ending. Yeah. But yeah.
And and I mean, maybe she didn't want to know, but sometimes things are glaring, and maybe I was just thinking about blood types, right? Like blood types can be enough of a giveaway.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and of course the baby gets blood type immediately when they're born. So could explain, but that, we don't know. Maybe Max and her ex-boyfriend have the same blood type.
The same, yeah.
So it wouldn't explain anything. So, but we do know that Tom never slept with her. He was falling in love with her. Never slept with each other. So, of course, that is actually a good thing to hear, just for the fact that this is the thing that Max has been saying over and over again, that he was put in jail for something she did, which was the pregnancy and not knowing who the father potentially was. And then that's that guilt that was definitely part of this, because she was afraid of him and didn't want him to be associated. But it also is helpful that, if she was with Tom at the same time, then she might want to know if it was Tom's kid or whatever, and be motivated considering they ended up together, as opposed to her just kind of wanting to put this behind her and, locking him away. It makes it easier. Although they were pretty certain that he was a monster as it was. So Max is right. And again, this could have been more interesting if a version of the story where someone's good, tries to do the right thing, puts someone innocent away, and then that person becomes a monster after being put in prison and then becomes this avenging angel. That could be a more contemporary version of this, a more complex character. Like that, obviously not the show we have here. Maybe the show I prefer to have seen, but not the show. Then he decides, by the way, that the kids can't be the jury and that the son is too messed up. So now he's using the fact that he's he's had this, again, something was completely dropped here, by the way, that whole Santeria angle. It's not Santeria, but it's another one of these. Right. And how he's the god of justice, sits on his shoulder. So now he has to be, it's time for him to be the judge, which again could be very interesting if he decides to kill himself, for example, when he realizes what his crime is. But in the moment where he's about to be judge, jury, and executioner, this is when finally Anna puts it all together and goes, wait a second. Crystal, Luke was your son. Crystal had the baby at home. She's pieced it all together. Sherlock Holmes over here.
Mhm. Well, I guess we thought Luke was his son either way, but it was a question of who the mother was.
Right. But then, yeah, with the cut. Yeah. Anyway, with the incision, I was thinking about the her cutting the baby when she.
Right.
This is grim, but I didn't want to go into details last week. But basically that
Yeah,
when
yeah.
she was doing this, she cut the baby at the same time accidentally. And then, of course, this sets him off. And at the exact same moment, this is when Natalie finally burns through the zip ties. I like how she's just like, I did it. What do I do now? And Tom's like, run away as quickly as possible. Like, we may be dead, but at least you can get away. And she does get her hand on that nail gun. That's another thing that came back, another callback, right? The nail gun itself. And she gets a nail gun right into his head. She should have finished him off, to be honest with you. She had an opportunity there, but she didn't. I mean, not like killed him, if she didn't want to do that, but she could have debilitated him much more significantly than kind of seeing him pull the nail out of his own head and then run back and try to cut his mom free.
Yeah, it felt like there was a missed opportunity there for sure.
Or cut your dad free, by the way, because that guy can take care of business, I think.
He's a Marine.
Exactly.
Can hold his breath for a long time, too.
As a matter of fact,
Turns
when
out.
he is like fighting with Max, because Bardem's so much shorter than he is as well. And I just assumed that, Bardem's been in prison and he fights dirty, but this guy's like military trained. I'm pretty sure he would not have a problem picking out Bardem, to be honest. Not Katie, at least the character. But that's not how it plays out. They have to make it look somewhat like a fair fight. Yeah, but before we move on to the finale of the whole episode, this whole thing, the fact that they just yada yada, it doesn't really get to land, right? Think about this amazing reveal here that Crystal murdered his wife, which he was angry about having been put in jail for this thing. Crystal's the one who did that. So he was indeed innocent. And that then she went and cut the baby out so that she could have that baby. This is like truly shocking, right? And makes Crystal this incredible villain in this show. And it's like 2 minutes of screen time. It's such a huge missed opportunity. That there was, by the way, in my head going into this, after our conversation last week, I am picturing that it's going to be on the boat, the Katies versus the Bowdens, and then he is going to be judge, jury, and executioner, and he's going to turn to like, we are here, the Katies are here to kill the Bowdens, right? And then when all these reveals come in, he turns and he's like, no, I'm going to kill these people. Like he flips with the reveal because this is like, he is the jury and has to weigh these things out. And his judgment is that his family, and this is like his retribution against the family, and then he could still go after Anna for other things, but that's how I thought the ending would play out, right? The fact that that kind of happens, but he doesn't know that he's getting revenge at the beginning, and it all happens in 3 minutes, and he just kills them all because this is finally his most angry or whatever. And then the reveal of all that comes at the end when they're all dead already. I'm like, this is like the horrible way to structure this reveal. I thought this was a terrible job.
Yeah. And then what do you think also about the idea that, I mean, listen, obviously he's a horrible, evil person, but in his head, this is being done to avenge his wife and son. And then now we find out that this very specific image that he had of his son is, I mean, listen, the son was a fetus anyway when this happened. So it was always like a fictionalized aging of this unborn child. But and also very weird though that Zach was seeing that same son. But anyway, we never really tied that up. I guess it was the drugs. But so the idea that son did exist and he didn't know, but also the idea that like, okay, the restaurant is named after them, right? Because this is like the great love. But then in the FaceTime, he's talking with his mistress about how they slept in the wife's bed. She means nothing to him, right? Like,
well, I think he was having an affair. It seemed like he had affairs with multiple women while he was very unfaithful to his wife when he was a restaurateur. That seems to have come out.
Yeah, I guess it's just seeing the FaceTime is like the idea for me that in his head, this was the great love of his life and she had been murdered. But then like the way he's talking about her, again, obviously he's an awful, evil person. He was cheating on her, blah, blah. But just the way he's talking about her is like, this is clearly not the love of your life. But like everything is centered around avenging her and the restaurant's named for her and all of that. I don't know.
I just see it as like pure sociopathic behavior in the
I
fact
guess
that,
so.
I mean, like this happens to a lesser extent in the public eye as well, where someone in retrospect, they're like, it's so sad what happened to my wife or whatever. Like, they become like the doting parent or whatever retroactively. And then you find out that whatever, like this celebrity whose child star died tragically. And then like now it's just like, oh, the industry just ate them up. And then you find out that they were like some kind of terrible parents back in the day. And I think that's often the way people are. Like, people are always rewriting their story like in a way that makes them heroic. I don't bump against that much. I don't think it's well explored here at all. But
Okay.
in my own head, I kind of just, I just assign it to the fact that he's a
enough.
sociopath
Okay.
and a narcissist, and it's just
Fair
how
enough.
he wrote all of history.
Okay.
Speaking of all that, though, with his mind, everybody's blurring of images here, I find it very funny that in parallel, he's like, no, while he's like making the revelation that he killed his own son. And then in that, he's like the AI slop version of his, like, that's what they've been calling it online. The AI slop version of the son is up there. And then,
and it like switches.
And it switches like, oh no. And then simultaneously, by the way, that Zach is like, drooling in the corner by himself. And in his own memories, he's like, he's my dad. He took me fishing. Hold on a second. I like, by the way,
Yes.
the gateway into his memory was him holding the fish in his hands.
Yes.
He's just like, he's sitting there in the living room, of course, not literally, but in his own mind, and the fish in his hands. And he's like, who took me fishing? Oh, it was Tom. And then he's like, no, I picked this dad over that dad. And I like how that, we're getting very close to the end, but I like how at the end it's kind of like, and now everything's fine. Like, yeah, his son's totally fine after all that.
Oh my God.
Dandy. But yeah, people's mental recollections being like rewritten in parallel was very funny. Like as if there was a connection. I mean, visually there's a connection between those two things, but as if there's like, those things are happening in parallel for the same reason. They're just completely arbitrary things happening. But anyway, pretty crazy stuff.
Yes.
And what happens then? So Tom and him are fighting. He actually gets the upper hand on Tom. This is when Zach comes out of his stupor. Now he stabs that guy in the back. Or Natalie does the stabbing. Who does the stabbing? Zach does something, though. He does take action, at least. But I think it's Natalie who stabs him in the back. I can't remember who the stabber is. But anyway, he ends up with a knife in his back from one of the kids. Or maybe it's the mom. Who knows? Maybe they all stab him. They all try to drown him, at least. That's for sure. That I remember clearly. They're both standing on his neck at the same time. And he can't swim, although I don't think that really matters when someone's standing on your back in the pool.
I don't know.
And then they're like, no, don't kill him. He needs to spend the rest of his time, cage time forever.
In a cage.
As if a cage is going to hold him. I assume that would be season 2 of this dumb show if that ever happened. But I don't think it's going to happen, to be totally honest. Even though the fact that does seem to be that people did watch it. Yeah, then we get to the very end of the season, and tell me what you thought about this. First of all, we see that Natalie is watching his ex-girlfriend, that girl that was that he met at the bar that time, who had been in that couple that was trying to swim in their backyard, being like, I love Max Katie. So again, some kind of critique of this online fascination with these and romanticization of these killers. And but she just closes it. She doesn't want to know. She's received her DNA results, but she doesn't open the envelope. She doesn't want to know. So, and then we do have her have like a nice scene with Tom. So I guess that's supposed to be, she doesn't open the envelope. And then she's like, has this tender scene with Tom. I guess she's picked her dad. Although I think that if there was a season 2, we would confirm who the father is. I think that would be definitely one of these questions that they're supposed to be exploring. They're like, Zach, is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, everything's okay now. And now they're having a barbecue after half the people who were at the barbecue at the beginning of the show in the very first episode. Here we are at a barbecue again in the backyard, but half those people are dead now. But other than that, they seem happy. It's brought them closer together. They are actually spending time together, which is nice to see. The cat did not die. I was pretty sure Peanut Butter was not going to survive, but Peanut Butter is here. That's another callback. We see Natalie's actually carrying Peanut Butter, so we know she's alive in case we had any questions. And then we end on this shot where Amy Adams as Anna is like, oh, she's happy, everything's good. And then she turns her head, looks over her shoulder, and photo negative effect again, like we had at the beginning of the season. Because what do you think that represents? Is that like Max is still out there, or whatever this threat still is out there? And when I say that threat, I don't mean Max specifically. Maybe something more, like something inside.
Well, we haven't seen Navia in a while. I mean, she could be
Navia. Yeah, she can come back. Who knows? Maybe she's standing back there with a knife. That would be really funny to have, like almost like a Brian De Palma ending where she turns her head,
jamming the Wi-Fi,
standing there with a knife.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, I don't know what it was supposed to represent, and whether we were supposed to think someone is actually watching them, or it's just that they're living with this. I found it very unsatisfying that we didn't see, like with Max, okay, yeah, he deserves to be in the cage, but then like you didn't tie him up while you called the police. Like what is happening? And then I thought, like, what would have been a great final shot? Like Max in a cage in that extra room they were building or something like that. I don't know. I found this ending very unsatisfying.
I completely agree. I think it's trying to be a callback to the ending of Cape Fear, the 1991 movie, which is so chilling. I actually just looked it up now.
Tell me it. I don't remember.
We're zooming in. It's like, Katie's drowned. Spoilers for 1991 Cape Fear, everybody. 35-year-old movie. But Katie has drowned, and the family's like at the riverside. The Nick Nolte character, the dad, has become the primordial Avenger, trying to smash his head in with a rock. So it's like kind of like that reversal of becoming more I think the themes of that film are like the idea that the civilized man becoming this more animalistic version of himself, which is what Katie's trying to lure out of him. Anyway, so then we see the family. They're all huddled together on the edge of the Cape Fear.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be how like this trauma still lives inside of this girl. And Danielle in voiceover, she says, Danielle's the daughter. In voiceover, she says, we never spoke about what happened, at least not to each other. Fear, I suppose, that to remember his name or what he did would mean letting him into our dreams. And me, I hardly dream about him anymore. Still, things won't ever be the way they were before he came. But that's all right, because if you hang on to the past, you die a little every day. And for myself, I know I'd rather live. So the idea that, of course, that she, even though they survived, but the trauma lingers.
Of course it would. Yes.
So it's like, I love that final moment in the film, although I never remembered the actual dialogue, but I loved how that haunted you when you walk out of the theater, that this person is not okay after all of this, like she's like, I barely dream about him anymore.
Right.
About, decades in the future. Right. So, and I think that's what's supposed to be represented with that kind of little shot, but it doesn't quite land as well. I think, even though there's not a lot of voiceover in this show, a voiceover at the end would have been a nice homage to the previous episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, thumbs up, Sona. Good ending.
I mean, I'll give it what my kid used to give me when I would ask him thumbs up or thumbs down. Sometimes you'd get a sideways thumb.
Sideways thumb?
Yeah, this is like a sideways thumb. Like the episode itself, it had some moments, but overall the episode was a thumbs down. The season to me, I want to say series, but let's say season, was also probably a sideways thumb. Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yes.
It all around, it had its moments, but it also, there were times that it was just very confusing.
I actually thought this episode was pretty well made, and with a tighter script and with some of the elements of this episode could have been satisfying in the context of maybe like a movie. I think the biggest problem with this show, to be honest, is just the idea of 10 hours of this. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know how these decisions were made. I don't know if it was the creators. I don't want to just attacked the creators of the show for wanting like a 10-hour story. I don't know if that was their decision. I don't know if Apple wanted a 10-hour order. Regardless, the idea of taking Cape Fear, this novel that's been made into 2 relatively short films, and extending it to 10 hours, like there's just not enough material here.
Yeah.
And by the way, you introduce things that never come back again. We have multiple dead bodies here that have never been found or never been brought up. And we have...
remember that mother son from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. And of course, Navia's mom, who's definitely dead, and we don't know where she is. And so
maybe still lying on the floor.
She could be decomposing in that house, yeah, for sure. And the Santeria thing, like think about that. Like we had so much imagery around this, like Santeria and the fact that he was this priest and how he was supposed to be some, that had a lot to do with the way he saw himself as this Avenger. And for all of that to be like, for what? Like we don't even have. That never came back. It's so crazy.
Well, like he said, possibly leaving more questions open for another season, but that is not a comforting thought for me.
Yes. And I can't imagine Apple greenlighting another season of this, unless maybe it was way more popular than I thought, but I don't anticipate it. But anyway, I will say right now, if they brought this back for another season, I'm not watching it. No way.
Well, if you're not watching it, I'm not watching it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the episode. And of course, we will be talking about Furious starting Monday. We'll probably record. And this time
when will the new episode of that come out? Monday or some other day?
It's Sunday into Monday. Monday night.
Sunday into Monday.
Monday midnight, actually. So basically, Monday morning, it's available. So anybody who's watching it during the day, it's available Monday during the morning. It'll be available, and we will try to record in the afternoon and get the episode out sooner than this most recent one. I just was not able to publish that episode until the middle of the week, but I was intending to get it out sooner. And since we'll be talking about one episode at a time from now on in,
much more manageable.
Probably get this on time. So yeah, do check that out. We're still talking about Lucky for 3 more episodes of that. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff coming in August, and we'll discuss that. On top of that, Darren and I will keep talking about movies we've been watching as well. And I think he's already seen the Spider-Man movie. I am going to go see the Spider-Man movie tomorrow, hopefully the whole family. And Sona.
We're going on Sunday.
Sunday, there you go.
Well, and thank you, because last time we talked, I said, I think maybe we'll go see it this weekend. And you said, that's going to sell out. You better get on that. Yes. And I looked, and I was like, I looked either the day we talked or the next day, and I saw the seat maps, and I texted my husband. I said, Victor's right. This is going to sell out. Pick a time and buy the tickets. So, yeah.
Oh, my God. My daughter was supposed to go with one of her friends to see it yesterday. And then I told the parents who invited her, I'm like, did you guys buy tickets yet? And they're like, we're going to go in like half an hour. And I opened the AMC app. And first of all, it takes 10 minutes to load because it was completely overwhelmed.
Oh my gosh.
And then I looked at the screening they were looking at, and I'm like, only the first 2 rows are available like on a Thursday. It's like the preview screening. And I was looking this morning as well. And this morning when I opened up the app, there are some edge of the theaters, and the show is playing every half hour or so. Anyway, so like all the seats are already not very good. But anyway, it was funny yesterday. She didn't end up going, and the dad was like, I'm like, if you want to get tickets, can you check that there are any available? And then I'm waiting for him to text me back, and I'm like, did you find any seats? And he says, I can't get the app to load. I'm like, I know.
Oh my god.
It takes like 15 minutes. It tells you, by the way, this was yesterday anyway, that when you open the AMC app, it tells you like there's a message saying like you're the next in line on the queue or something.
Oh, that is the worst.
And then it has like a progress bar, and I'm like, that's not a good sign.
No.
I've never had to wait for the app to load before.
For the movie theater app.
So they were completely overwhelmed. And by the way, the numbers are already coming in, and overseas, it's in most of the places it's already opened. It is the biggest opening of any movie ever.
Amazing.
And in the US, yesterday's previews were bigger than the previous record holder, which was the Avengers Endgame, and not like slightly bigger. It was 20% bigger. So this is like a massive opening weekend. As a matter of fact, as amazingly as Oppenheimer Odyssey's been doing, and it looks like it's going to hold up pretty well against Spider-Man, even though this is an incredible record historical opening. the amazing thing about it is, as much as everybody's been talking about how incredible the Odyssey's been performing, at the end of the weekend, the Odyssey and Spider-Man may have almost exactly the same gross. The difference is Spider-Man's only been out for 3 days, and Odyssey would be out for multiple weeks at this point, 3 weeks.
But are you hearing, I haven't checked at all, is it a good movie?
The word of mouth is very strong. So
great.
Yeah. So it has a 98% approval on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's on my letterbox. It is averaging a little over 4. Anything over, I mean, for a comic book movie, anything in the 4s is very strong. It's going to be one of the, if I went and looked, it's probably one of the highest ranking, or maybe the highest ranking Spider-Man films on Letterboxd and on Rotten Tomatoes. So it looks like the audience is loving it.
Wow.
The cinema score is A, almost an A+, just shy of an A+. So all those things seem to be that the audience, which of course are apparently, this is opening day audiences, right? So this is like the most diehard Spider-Man fans, but they're all loving it so far. And everybody's a Spider-Man fan, right? So
yeah, for sure. Very accessible superhero.
Every generation. It's funny because these Marvel films have not been doing that well, but Spider-Man is completely bulletproof. People are not tired of watching Spider-Man movies, apparently. Mm-hmm. Do you guys watch the Spider-Verse films, the animated ones?
I have not. I'm not sure if my husband and son have seen them or not.
Really? Oh, your son, and you guys should watch this, the Miles Morales character. I think he would love Miles. I do think they are Miles Morales fans. Does that mean that they have seen the ones that you're... He's only in...
Okay.
He's only in the animated ones. But
gotcha. Really I didn't know that. Miles Morales is not a human character ever.
Well, he's human. He's just not...
No, you know what I mean.
He's not played... Yeah, it's not...
He's not in the movies as an actual human being?
Yes, he's only in the animated films. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Now you know.
Now I know.
See, you learned something else. You learned you have to book those tickets early.
That's right.
I'm here to guide you, like everybody.
I appreciate
everybody else who listens to this podcast too. All right, so thank you again for the conversation, and I am so relieved that this is the last time
we did it.
Cape Fear.
We did it.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.